You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Hello and welcome. You are tuned into iLive Radio UK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting us on 0208 638 8503 or all the W's uk.iliveradio.com.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?
Today's subject on Black People's Wisdom is education. And joining me today on today's show is Miss Mode, Miss D, Miss B, Miss N, and our special guest, Mrs. Maxine Jean-Marie. Now, the subject is education, and having just introduced Maxine, I would like Maxine to just tell us a bit about herself. Welcome, Maxine.
Welcome. I'm Maxine Jean-Marie. I'm a teacher. I do a lot of lectures on Black history, and I spend my time just loving kids and pushing them forward. That's what I do.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? I know you come from a background, you're very knowledgeable. Can you just tell us, you were raised in and educated in Barbados, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And transitioning to London just before I was 15 was a complete change for me, because education in Barbados, we've got an ethos that no matter how poor you are, your children must do better.
Yes.
So people strive to learn. So it's a different ethos out here, where people are told, children are taught to believe what people say about them. Oh, you can't do better. Oh, you can't learn. And children take it on board and then don't try to excel. Mm-hmm. But in my growing up in Barbados, no matter how poor you are,
yes,
no matter how poor your parents are, they try to push you further than they were. So that's the difference. So coming into England and walking into a secondary school and find that children of my color couldn't read at the year 5, year 6, can't read. And that was really a shock for me.
It's quite devastating.
So, so now we've got a different, for me, teaching in this country, I try to carry the same ethos as in Barbados. Mm-hmm. So any child that comes into my care, they have to do something better than they come with.
Okay. So you're also a pastor from what I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a pastor of the Pentecostal faith.
Yes.
And I'm very proud of it.
And so you should. And with regards to your education and you being a pastor, do you feel that benefits your children, that you are helping?
Yeah, I think because of my Christian belief and because of discipline and structure, is able to help me in my career and to help other people's children.
Yeah.
So that's my drive for all my life.
Okay. I mean, your CV is very, very interesting, the little that I know of it. So you're also a senior interventions officer, I've been in schools.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do a lot in schools. I do mainly conduct intervention and help consultate with those things and children, people that are struggling, especially dyslexia children.
Yes,
you've got to give extra passion, extra love, and I teach other people to do it too.
Right. And I'm going to touch on a few other things that you do. Yeah.
I don't.
I'm aware that you work with Ofsted as well.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, what Ofsted, yes. And I think it's a good thing.
Yes.
For people, especially for people like myself, black workers, to get to know these things, because that's why a lot of things are misread, misunderstood, because you don't know the procedure and the method to do things.
Yes, 100%. And the final thing, I'm aware that you're a black activist as well.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to expand on that a little.
Yeah, I was a black activist from the 70s.
Right.
Because I grew up in a time under Angela Davis.
Oh, right.
And so we adopted as young people this hairstyle and dressed like her. And then we also took her ideology because we wanted a fair world for black people. So I've been activist in the 70s.
Yes.
And we spent the 70s going to police stations, checking on youngsters who were getting caught in sometimes, just because you're black.
Yeah.
So we spent our time doing that and a lot of community work.
Yeah. You seem to have had a lot of hands-on experience with the youth, and you've played quite a major part in, the infrastructure and the build of the infrastructure within the education field. Now,
pardon?
You've been quite busy within the education field and actually just completely involved on all different aspects, which is very inspiring and quite it's nice to hear, especially as we have a young lady here who is presently a student.
Okay.
So with regards to the word education, education means different things to everyone.
Yeah.
So
because education is not only academic, but it's a holistic thing. You don't just have to push books down the child, but they have to learn. It's holistic because it's life itself. Yes. Education is life itself.
Yes. Is anyone else want to interject? Obviously, Maxine's doing a lot of talking here today. She has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the field. And I know, Miss B, you have experience with children as well, because you...
So I work with children in the primary school base. I also have experience working with SEN children, and I agree with Maxine that it's not just about books. It is about having that holistic approach and making sure the children feel valued.
Yes.
I've worked up in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 and then moved into early years, and I feel that it's like a really vital part of that child's learning, like socially, emotionally. I feel that it's really important to kind of engage with them at that point, mould them at that point, give them the foundation at that point so that they can carry it through.
It's true.
When they go up.
I think when a child is young, they're like a sponge. So it's key to get certain things into their brain from an early age. I think it's important that we do play our roles as parents, godparents, aunties, uncles, because our education for a child is their future. And without education, you can't get so far. Some people are lucky they have the opportunity to be able to do things without education, because the system or what influences they have allowed them that. But generally, education what takes you to where you need to go in life.
I think for me as well, I'll come from sort of like a parent's point of view. When I went to school, I mean, it was a few years ago, I don't know, it was more, I wanted to do well in class. I didn't really have anyone pushing me as such at school, because we weren't even told. I mean, I don't remember being told or really encouraged to go to college. Definitely was not told to go to university, as I mentioned before, and it was free. Wasn't really something I considered, and I regret that now. But one thing I've realised, as soon as I became a mother, and I suppose coming out of school with GCSEs, luckily for me, I found my way into quite a good career. But many people probably just, you know, if you didn't come out with decent GCSEs, you just did whatever job you could to get some money in. I think back in my day, few went on to uni. But being a mother, as soon as I had my child, there's something that, for I would say the majority of parents, you want the best for your child. So I just knew. Naturally, yeah. I just started stuffing books in. I used to read when I was pregnant to my bum. So to my stomach. So when she came out, honestly, my daughter's always been obsessed with reading. And
yeah, mine too.
Yeah, so just encouraging that reading with a book made a huge difference.
Well, for me, I have a flip coin. I was born in the UK. At the age of 10, I left to go and live in the Caribbean, where I was schooled from the age of 10 to 16. For me, that was a truly amazing part of my life.
How did you find the difference, though, because schooling here probably would have been a lot looser than when you went back?
Well, technically speaking, when I left, I think I left at a very good age. Being 10, going to sit my 11 plus.
Wow.
I was in a position, maybe had I gone earlier, I don't know what difference it would have made, because what I came out with after 6 years of school in the Caribbean has molded me to who I am today. And I think with that experience, I saw true education. I can hand on my heart say I experienced true education. To that point, I sent my daughter to the Caribbean to school.
Wow. At what age?
But I sent her at 16 years old.
Okay. What, for your college and uni?
No, she went to a private school, as did I. Because I just felt that she wasn't getting what she needed at that very important time in her life. Mm-hmm. The career path that was being paved for her, to me, was below her. You know, so I felt I did want her to go earlier. Yeah. I did want her to leave at 13, to be quite honest. But 16 was the age that she came to me and said, you know, Mum, you know that you said I can go and study in the Caribbean. Is it still an option? She was on the flight, I think, 2 days after.
Fantastic.
So for me, having experienced it for myself and my child having experienced it, and her saying that it was the best thing that happened to her, she came back from the Caribbean overqualified.
What age?
She came back at 17. She was supposed to be in the Caribbean for 2 years. In the first year of her studies, she maxed on everything.
In 1 year?
In 1 year. She was supposed to be there 2 years. She came back overqualified. She was given placement at universities, unconditional.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately, she's not here today to actually tell you her story. But for me, and her experience is just living proof.
So what is the difference
I was going to say
in the actual
education?
If you look at certain places like Japan and all the other places, their children excel. Like, certain people don't send their children to school for until they're a certain age. I can't remember exactly which country it is, but they don't send their children to school straight away. They kind of nurture them at home and give them that kind of ability to socialise with others. But what is the difference? Because your daughter just excelled, like
In 1 year.
in 1 year, like.
I think it has a lot to do with living standards, society. I found, going back to myself, I just touch on that. When I came back here at 16, I came back because my parents were here. Okay, it was the worst decision I had ever made in my life. I can put my hands up and say that.
Did you realise it as soon as you came back?
The interest in me, I was an A-class student.
Back in Barbados?
Back in Barbados. I came back here with A's. Anything below an A plus.
Not good enough.
It was never good enough for us as children. So our standards were up there.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's fantastic.
I came back to the UK. I attended school. There was no interest in me. There was no drive for me. Having conversations with teachers was like pulling the tooth out. They weren't interested.
But even though you were at that academic standard that they could push on, what do you think it was? Because you were too bright?
I was
Or
told.
because you were black?
I think they're both contributing factors, to be quite honest. The mere fact that I was a black female and the mere fact that I came from a Caribbean island that, so to speak, I shouldn't be as clever as I should be.
Dumb. Yeah, that's
So there's probably an error in my results. But page after page isn't an error. So for me, Maxine, what do you have to say about that?
I found it very disturbing coming from Barbados to England, and the standard. But the thing is, what strikes you most is the expectations of the teachers.
Yes.
So their expectations is that you're no good.
Yes.
You ain't going to get nowhere. So they don't bother. They don't show no interest in anything you do. And I think it's still going on now.
Yes,
to some extent.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's why it's important that there's.
So it wasn't that you changed from the standard that you were at.
Yeah.
But because nobody showed interest and show anything, you would drop down. You drop right down.
Yes. I'm living proof of that. And my interest in schooling, I didn't want to remain in school. I just wanted to go out to work.
Yeah. Nobody wants to stay at school if you're not being noticed or encouraged.
Exactly.
So when I was fortunate that my family were all academics, so they wouldn't let me sit down.
Yeah.
But I went to school. It was a waste of time. Going to school every day, I learned nothing. Nothing that I didn't bring from Barbados with me.
Yeah.
When you came from Barbados, what sort of academic level did you come from? Because Miss Law said she came with all A's and A stars. What did you come over with at your age?
Well, I came to England at just before my 15th birthday, and I had 9 O-levels.
Yeah.
Wow, at 15.
Yeah.
You'd already done them then?
Yeah. Because they're more
I'd done
advanced.
them. And then when I came to the school, I came in February, and they were doing their GCEs in the May. And in May, I had to resit because I had those subjects that said that my subjects were from Oxford and Cambridge, and now they were doing it from London University. So I did the whole thing all over again and threw in a couple of more subjects, and I got them all.
Yeah.
So what are we lacking here then? You two.
Pardon?
What are we lacking here then? Because both of you have been through the Caribbean school system, and you would know probably because you have a school in Barbados, I believe, yes? And what are we lacking here in our classrooms today?
Yeah, in the curriculum.
The curriculum, yes. What is the difference? Because I think people really want to know.
Well, I think for the curriculum.
Hello.
1 minute.
Maxine, 1 second. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Who's calling?
It's Camille.
Hello, Camille.
What's your name? Where you calling from? Hi, I'm calling from London.
Okay, can you just turn your phone down at the background because there's interference? So unfortunately you might not be able to hear yourself. Yeah, how can I help?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump into the conversation.
Yes, by all means. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just listening. I'm actually Maxine's daughter.
Okay.
And I feel what the issue is here is the system.
Yes.
There is institutionalized racism in schools, in most institutions in this country. But the fact of the matter is, in order for us to address that, we have to be in it.
Indeed.
So, we absolutely need more black teachers in schools. We need our parents to be engaging with the teachers, because we can't address the systemic racism unless we're in it. Unless we're in the system, unless we're at the governor's meeting. I make it my business. I have 4 children. I make it my business. I'm on every PTA of their schools. I'm on the governor's board.
Yes.
Because if you cannot get change unless you get engaged in the conversation.
Yeah, you need to be in it to actually understand what is happening in the background.
And what do you do? What do you do?
Me, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
What do you teach and what year? What age?
Me, I teach secondary. I teach science, health and social care, and childcare.
Okay. So Maxine, you were saying as well.
You.
Pardon?
Well, you were saying something in the background. We kind of had to interject when you were speaking.
The difference.
Yeah, I was saying that expectations makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
So you walk into a school in London, and there is a silent agreement with the system that black children can't do much.
Yeah.
And so it's expected, if there's a row in the class, it's expected that there's that little black boy over there.
Yeah.
Then nobody questions till when they've already judged. And so that's why black children are labeled. They don't want body to give them no work. You go to a secondary school and you see outside the head teacher's office, the children out there are white.
Yeah.
White sitting down doing work, and the black ones are doing nothing.
Oh, well, when they get kicked out.
And that's in more secondary schools. Black kids are outside, standing outside the teacher's office, doing nothing. So having gone to school for how many hours? 6 hours? They probably spent an hour in class.
What about exclusions from school? What's going on there? Because I know a lot of people that think our children are being excluded very unfairly in high numbers.
Right. Well, exclusion, I mean, that's something that black parents, I think, are not involved enough. So they don't know the procedures. So black children, if your child is excluded from school, is the result of some, not the first time. If the child has done an offense, you call the parents in.
Yes.
You've got to have been in 2, 3, 4 times if you bother to go in, because if the head teacher calls, you should go in. But a lot of parents don't know the procedure. You should have a school policy that tells you what, after this set, next set, you'll be in, the child will be excluded for fixed term, either a week or 2 or something. And if it's too much, then you appeal. You got to have a hearing with a child psychologist, teacher, all that, and then you can appeal and sort it out. Then if nothing sorted, you go to PRU.
Yeah.
And that might be you. If you go to the pro, you might go for a couple of hours a day, a week, or whatever. And then most of the time, our children go downhill.
Yeah, 100%. I would like to thank you, caller, for calling in. I hope you stay tuned into the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, if you do want to connect with us, our social telephone number is 0208 638 8503. You can also WhatsApp on 07564 265 257. Let's continue as we were. So we touched on the curriculum, and obviously something is missing.
Do you find the same in your school's experience, Miss B?
So, like the caller said when she called in, you have to be in it to kind of encourage and inspire our children. So I make it a habit when I work with the children that I kind of make sure that I like bring in our culture. So like we might have something to do with cooking, I'll say, okay, I'll create an activity where we're cooking something, but it might be something like a Caribbean dish, or
Are your pupils mixed then? Is it black, white, everything, Asian?
the school that I work in at the moment is very diverse.
Okay, good.
So how is that received? Obviously, you're a black teacher. You're in a organisation that is predominantly white. How are your ideas received by your fellow colleagues?
Well, majority of the time they're welcomed.
Okay.
So they're not like, I've never been shut down or kind of been told you can't do this for any reason. So I just go ahead and...
So with regards to your schooling, your teaching, is it based on you being creative for your children because they're special needs children?
Yeah.
Or is it that you have to follow a guideline, a curriculum, so to speak, and within that curriculum you can be flexible?
Within the curriculum you can be flexible. So, okay, they might be doing maths, but depending on the child's ability, they might not be able to learn it a certain way. So then I kind of then come in with my intervention and create an activity whereby they might be doing adding 0 to 10.
So that's based...
I might bring in objects, or make a game where we put cars in a car park and they've got to match the numbers to the cars, and so we count 1 to...
right. And that's based on your flexibility.
That's my... Yeah,
but everyone has that flexibility.
No.
So the black teachers in our schools, because we don't have many. Some schools probably have 1 or 2, like a sprinkling, I think, or none at all. And I think, how are they going to get... I think if they're following a curriculum, I don't think there's much flexibility on the actual curriculum. I don't know how much they can do.
No, so majority of the time, the people who are black within the schools are the TAs.
Can you explain what a TA is?
So we're teaching assistants. We support the teacher within the class. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I will be classed as a learning support assistant.
Okay.
So I'm assisting with the learning of the children within the class. So you find the majority of those people working in the school would be black.
Okay, so most teaching, basically you're saying most teaching assistants to a teacher are generally black.
In the schools that I've worked
in. The ones that you've worked
And the teachers are white?
Majority of the time.
Can I ask, when you listen and sit there supporting, do you think I could do this better? Is the standard of teaching adequate? Is it good?
I think each teacher is different.
Yeah.
And as long as they're willing to take on, like when we're doing planning and stuff, and they're willing to take on other people's ideas, then it's not just that one person's way of teaching. We've kind of... I can't think of the word now. We've kind incorporated something together, or it might be that maybe that teacher doesn't feel confident leading that actual activity, and she might say to me, okay, well maybe you lead that activity. So then there's my opportunity again
to shine,
to kind of encourage and inspire our children and say, okay, so you actually are capable of doing this.
So Maxine, obviously you're hearing this now.
Yeah.
What's your first thought? Okay, you have a teaching assistant assisting a teacher with the capability of possibly teaching for herself. She's a black woman. What would you... Go ahead.
I think that I've seen a lot of situations in different schools, so it depends very much on the leadership of the school. Because if you've got somebody who is quite willing and open to working with everybody, and you've got a good team, then whether you're white or black, it works.
Yes.
But in some, I'll say something that probably maybe startle you, that sometimes you've got the black teachers that do nothing either.
Yeah, well, I expect that.
That are not concerned about the children.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that gets to me.
I've got a question for Maxine. Maxine, do you think that schools are now becoming more of a business than an actual school?
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way,
I
though,
do.
would you say? Explain it to us that we don't know. I don't know.
In fact, I think that some of the teachers are there because it's a job and you get paid. But I'm old school, so I don't see much of me in most schools.
Yeah.
Because the reason I teach is to pass on education and knowledge, and therefore I've got a love for it. And I mean, when I say love, I mean love for the children I teach. So I've got no time to waste, and I've got no time to accept excuses that I can't do this and I can't do that. We can do it together.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the difference. And I have seen teachers like myself, so, I know that it can happen, and that's where we've got to go.
So can I just ask, are we saying then that all our children need is a bit more encouragement and teachers that are passionate about them and they could excel as well?
That's my view.
Yeah,
And
that's
parents'
exactly-
intervention as
that.
well.
Wow.
Now we have Nicole, Miss N here, and she's a student, and you have a teacher talking. Now I want to have your perspective of what we're discussing here today.
So I think in primary school, it was one of those situations where I went to one of those schools that had a black head teacher, but I don't think she particularly did much to encourage the black students. I think in my time there, from reception to year 6, we had 2 black teachers and 1 black TA. I was never taught by either of those teachers directly, but I knew they were in the school, which was nice. I think schools definitely need to put more effort into their children, because I went to one of those schools where there was 30 of us in a class, and if you had 5 bad children, those 5 bad children would take over the whole lesson. So it made it really difficult for other students who were trying to do well. We were kind of left to our own devices, and every parents' evening I was always told that I would talk too much, I was too chatty in class. But that was always because the work was too easy for me and I was never pushed.
So you weren't challenged?
Not at all. They started this program called Gifted and Talented when I was about in year 3, and you were supposed to be mentored by a year 6 student. I think we did one session where we met with our year 6 mentors, and it never happened again. I think I was given a book to read, but the book was again too easy. They just didn't put any effort into us, and that was with a black head. So I don't know if it helps much, to be honest.
So for you, Miss N, so you're living proof of what is out there in the education world. How do you feel going forward, your options, what you're going to strive to be, and where you're going to go on this journey? Where do you think you'll be, or what do you want out of your education?
So I'm in my 2nd year of university now. I study law, and my ultimate goal is to be a barrister or a Supreme Court judge. Well, the final goal anyway. But I think that's mainly because of the school I went to after primary. My secondary school was private, which meant that the opportunities there are endless. I've never been told that I couldn't do anything. And in primary school, no one really spoke about university. But when I got to my private secondary school, everyone kind of knew what university was. Everyone's parents went. Everyone knew what they were doing after. I didn't know sixth form was a thing in primary school. Everyone seemed to know it in my private school. So possibilities were endless there. When I went to sixth form, because I then changed schools after year 11, I had a meeting with my careers officer, and he was an old white man. I remember saying to him, I want to go to uni to study law. I'm looking at these top 10 unis because I had the grades to get into them. And I remember he told me, I can't remember what subject he told me to go for, but it definitely wasn't law, and it definitely wasn't something that matched the skill set that I had. So
that was a normal state school, wasn't it?
That was at a state school, yeah. Just the guidance counselling's terrible. The careers counselling's terrible.
I don't think the career counselling was good back in the day when I used to go to school anyway myself. I think you had to do some kind of questionnaire, and then that just printed out a list of jobs that they kind of linked to your answers to your questions. So
I just remember them. They just encourage you to go work in social services or the council, and that was it. I remember those jobs. So
So I don't know I don't think it's really changed that much, and maybe that needs to be looked at, maybe reviewed in like how they help the young people of today actually make the decisions, maybe listening to them and kind of taking on board what their interest is or where they feel that they want to go, and maybe either giving them the tools to or kind of directing them to somewhere where they can get help.
My question is the interest there for us as black students? See, my main thing is going to school, I just didn't feel that support was there for me.
From where?
From school.
What about your parents? Would they push into,
when I was in the Caribbean, my parents put me in a private school. So we're all educated. We all have come a long way and done good. So why would it be that I come back to the UK school and there is so much issue? Yeah? Why is it that Nicole is expressing the same things? I'm twice her age, possibly. And how can I have experienced the same thing she is now experiencing? So now that rings alarm bells for me.
Quite scary,
because why is it that she's experiencing what I was experiencing over 25 years ago?
Yeah, that just shows that there hasn't been much change.
Big change.
So
There's no change.
It's the system.
It's definitely
Maxine, what do you think about that?
I think that the system is designed to keep the black children down, because they're expecting the black children to fail. That's the general. They won't tell you outright, but that's everything that points towards it. Why do we have to get the low-paid jobs? Why don't they prepare the working class children for grammar school? The only way that a working class child will go to grammar school is if the parents pay and have tutoring.
Yes.
Because by the time you're in year 5, which is 10 years old, by the time you're there, you have to do the entrance test to secondary school, to those grammar schools. So you will not pass it because they don't teach you. They don't prepare you for grammar school tests.
Yeah, because their expectation isn't for you to go there.
In a government school.
Yeah.
When we say they expect us, do we mean they deliberately are stopping us? Because expecting us to fail and making us fail, to me, is two different things.
Yeah, but they're not actually helping us to. They're not. What I think Maxine was trying to say is that
they want us to fail.
They want us to fail, but they're not trying to encourage us to do better anyway. So if a child doesn't want to do something, they're not saying to that child, "Oh, do you know what? You really need to have a try at this. Even just try a little bit."
Is it the same for white children?
I wouldn't say it's the same for white children, solely because, again, in my primary school, we were never prepared for the 11 plus. The school I went to after that, all of the kids were prepared. That was part of their curriculum. They did the 11 plus lesson. So when it got to getting into those grammar schools, they had the capability to do that. Whereas all of us kids from state schools were kind of thrown in at the deep end. You're doing this 11 plus exam. Non-verbal and verbal reasoning is something that's not taught at all in the curriculum. So you wouldn't be expected to do it, and you're not taught to do it.
I didn't. As a parent, I'll be honest, I got caught short because when my daughter was at secondary school, I didn't know about the grammar. I didn't know about the 11 plus. I found out when it was like she was 2 years away from sitting those exams, and I was like, what is this verbal and non-verbal reasoning? So as a parent, I kind of thought I'd failed a bit because I should have known it when she started like primary school. Probably should know then. I didn't know.
So for me, you saying that, does that have a lot to say with the fact that we trust the system so much that we take a back seat? We feel that this system is there for us for our children to excel, but yet our children aren't excelling. So we take a back seat. Our children drop into a loophole, and then it's too late for them to actually be where they need to be.
And when I was going to school myself, when I was going to school myself, I went to Saturday school, so that was my additional learning. And I don't know if those things are available now, but that's where I got my encouragement and my inspiration. This was something which was within like a family-owned business, a local black family that actually kind of made sure that the children within the community had that kind of inspiration. So
yeah. So when we talk about school subjects, springs to mind. We all been sat there picking subjects or been given subjects that we feel that they feel that we need to do. Now, coming from different backgrounds, each student gravitates to different things. They are interested in different things. They're skilled in different areas. I'm going to pose this to you, Miss N, for the simple reason you're attending school, we're university now, but you're for us, we were at school ages ago. So we're ancient to this. Mm-hmm. Do you feel when you were making your choices and your decisions to choose subjects that you were going to do, were you given enough support? When you showed interest in certain things, were you how was it all handled?
So we had an options evening, which meant that you have a meeting with all of your teachers and they would have a meeting with your parents, and then they would tell you what you were best at and what you should take, what you got the highest grades in that year. So it wasn't really a problem for me. But I think for me, I had the influence from home where I knew I wasn't allowed to take certain subjects. My drama teacher told me that I should take drama, and I told my mum. My mum was like, absolutely not. You're not taking drama. Mum saw it as she calls it wishy-washy, as a weak subject. But in the end, it turned out to be one of my best subjects, and it really helped me now. But I knew that I had to stay with the strong subjects. I had to stay with the languages. We had to do maths, English and science as compulsory, but I stayed with the languages, I stayed with history, with geography and things like that.
And why did you choose those subjects over the others?
I think it's what I was best at, and I think I was pushed to. With science, there was a double option or a triple option, and the triple option had more content and more work. But I was pushed to take the triple option even though I had no interest in science at all, just because I knew that it would look good on my grade transcript at the end. I had no interest in science, but I was forced to take the triple, basically.
And how did you do, like, I know that you were forced to take the triple, but how did you do?
I did really well. I got 3 A's in the end, and then took my biology GCSE 6 months early, because they thought that I was at that level to take it early. So I took it early and then got an A. I was never great at science, to be honest. In chemistry, I went from an F to an A in about 4 months, but that was because I was in extra lessons. Before school, I had extra lessons. We had lunchtime interventions if you weren't at a specific grade.
I was going to say, was it actually applied by the school? Was it the teachers that said, okay, I feel that you need to come in, you can achieve this grade? So the teacher was encouraging in that.
Yeah,
for me, that difference. Yeah, for me, what you're saying to me, you had the support.
Yeah.
So, but you're one of few who had that support, and it says a lot, because yes, you've excelled to where you are now, and you're doing well still, and you're grounded as an individual, a young individual. So some people don't have that grounding. Some people don't have that support at home. You know, your mother may have been strict. She may have, given you direction and given you support as to where you should take your journey and where you can aspire to be, or what you can aspire to be. Now, thinking about fellow students, friends of yours, obviously their journey may have been slightly different from yours. Can you elaborate on a situation or conversation that you can recall? Because obviously people will see you as a 1 in a million. Yeah, okay, you've done so well, but so many are not doing well. So would your advice or your living experience be to them?
I would say stay as focused as you can. If you're finding the work too easy, or you're finding that you're doing it too quickly and everyone else is still struggling, ask your teacher for what you can do. ask your parents to maybe consider extra tutoring, but then make sure your parents are being diligent in where they're choosing to tutor you, because not every person who charges £10 an hour is the best tutor. And I've seen that because I've worked in many tutoring places and they've not been great. Make sure that you're looking at what's available to you. I started looking at universities when I was in year 9. And that's when I knew what grades I needed to get. I've always been quite forward focused. So if you're in year 9, start looking at what you need to get in your GCSEs to get into the sixth form that you want. Make sure you're looking at what grades you need to get at A-level to get into the university that you want, if that's what you want to do. But make sure you're looking forward, because the school might not be giving you the best fitting, but you can kind of create that opportunity for yourself as much as you can, and push your parents and push your school to push you.
Yeah. Maxine, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, we seem to have lost Maxine. So, Nicole, Miss N has made it.
All the people that came to this country came and they had a survival mode. So they didn't really invest too much in education. They wanted to work, probably send money back home to help the parents and things like that. And so they were behind, and then they didn't help their children that will probably be around the 50 age group, like that.
Yeah.
And so now we've got to work on all those groups of people,
yes,
so that the other young children, like Nicole and the others, can keep going, flying, because they can. I personally believe that there's no child that can do better.
Yes.
You can do better. Even if you've got special needs, you might be able to do it different.
Yes.
But you can do better.
Yeah. And you shouldn't have to, can I just say, even though, yes, Nicole went to a private school, I was very fortunate enough to be able to afford it, but I didn't plan that at all. That wasn't my plan. She would have gone to a normal secondary school. I didn't get one of the schools on my list, so I didn't get 6 schools. They gave me the school that was nearest my house, where the kids were going in with metal detectors. So I quickly had to scramble and think, what am I going to do? She's not going there. But it wasn't my plan. And I just think the majority of people, let's be honest, black or white, cannot afford to send their children to private school. And I just think you shouldn't have to pay.
I agree.
I think it should be affordable, decent education.
For everyone.
For everyone. You should. Why can't all the kids sit the 11 plus like they do in the Caribbean? Why can't they? Let's make it fair.
Yeah.
Can I just say that there are also, if you're looking at private school but you don't know if you can afford it and your child is at that level of academics where you might be considering it, there are scholarships, and there are 100% scholarships if you're at that academic level. So don't put it off just because you might not be able to afford it. Look at the options available to you. There's loads of financial support, especially in the big institutions. They've got the money, they've got the sponsors, and they've got the donors who've gone on to be millionaires, and they give their little 30,000 because they're millionaires to local schools. So be aware there are things available.
Can I just add as well very quickly? I've spoken to many friends who are parents that don't seem to think, they'll say to me, my child's not academic, it's okay, it's all right if they're not academic, they can do other things. But it's too many times I'm hearing it. We can't have so many kids that are not academic, because I'm sure the Asian children aren't all academic, the Nigerians aren't either, but they've got no choice. If they're not academic, maybe give them some extra classes.
I think it's about nurturing your child at the end of the day. It's how you do things as other parents, and the extension of being a parent. Your uncles, your aunts, and so on. Even your teacher. That's building that relationship with your teacher. Being able to be open and honest about the fact that you're struggling. You don't understand. I find that in current society, everybody claims to know everything, but when you break it down, they know nothing. And when I say know nothing, I don't mean it in a harsh way. I mean, they don't understand what's been discussed, but they shake their head and say, yes. Oh, yeah, I understand. But when you try to interact in a conversation about something, they're not able to interact with you.
That's right.
So I think it's very important, it's key that we support all we can. And like Maxine was saying, we need, and her daughter was saying, we need to be in those places to make the change. The change isn't going to come about by us just being a parent on the outside. get involved.
And as parents, we've got a responsibility to keep developing ourselves. It's never too late to learn.
Of course
There's
not.
so much you don't know as a parent. As a person, just keep learning. As black people, we can't afford to sit and be lazy because these people are going to forever try and keep us down. Keep learning. Open a book. Keep learning.
We have a duty to ourselves to excel. We have a role, and we need to play the role.
People think it's our responsibility.
Yes.
If we want to go forward, we can, and it's our responsibility. Every person, every individual, you've got to do something. I've got to do something to push us ahead.
Yeah.
It won't happen. No other person is going to help us. We have to be responsible and help our children to push forward.
Yeah.
What's happening in October? Because there's an important thing happening very quickly, Max.
You mean October this year is as usual, it's the Black History Month.
What about the school?
Oh, we've got a school coming, which is a supplementary school coming to Tottenham in September.
September.
Which is good because I think for me, I've got to work on my people, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so how do we...
We've got a team. We've got a team of black teachers.
Yes.
Who's gonna devote our time to teaching those children. On Facebook, you'll see we'll send out the schedule very soon.
Okay.
The time, and you can go to the weekend session all weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and during the week, and in the evening.
What's the school called?
Then the next year we'll hope to have a full-time school. We're working on that at the moment.
So, Maxine, I'd like you to just give your final thoughts on today's subject, education, your wealth of knowledge, just in a couple words or in a sentence, just tell us a few thoughts.
Well, I think education is the way forward. I mean, I think that in the past, which is the past and we can't dwell on it, people have not done as we should have done. So the older people, like my parents, came here, they just worked and did what they had to do. Unfortunately for me, I come from a very academic family, so I had no choice. But you had lots of people who didn't have opportunity. And so I think now we have got to be responsible, because we've seen now, especially this generation, we've seen what we need to do to get forward. Education is the key.
Indeed.
And once we get educated, there's no stopping us. If you think about all the things that black people have done, inventions, everything, there's so much history to leave it behind and let go. We've got to push forward, and we've got to be educated.
Yes.
That's it.
I agree with you 100%. You know, today's subject has been education, and we are forever learning as adults, as children. You know, we just can't stop learning. And I think it's important that we pay attention to those who are younger than us, create that support, connect with each other to the point where we are doing more to help our youth. It's important that we pay attention to a lot more than what we're paying attention to.
Yeah.
We have a role as parents, adults, just individuals, to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to keep on top. It's our responsibility to stay focused on our journeys and strive for where we want to go to. It's important that we help those who need the help and aid who need to be aided. Some of us have friends that are trying to learn their way and they don't have that support. Be that support. I want to take this opportunity to thank all who have joined me on today's show for your input, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you a blessed Sunday. Good night and God bless.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 honestly? What if we spoke